Welcome back to Chit Chats, everybody. My name is Antonio.
And my name is Quinton, and let's have a chit chat.
All right, we got it. Thanks, Quinton.
Cool. No problem.
Um, before we get started here, I just want to break the fourth wall a little bit and say that this is our second time recording this because
Yes, it
I was
is.
stupid the first time and didn't notice that my audio wasn't picking up until about 10 minutes in. So that's fun. Anyway, how are you doing today, Quinton?
I'm doing perfect.
That's good.
Amazing.
So normally, you know, for those of you watching, you know that normally Brennan is here with me and he's like my co-host for these episodes. But, today I just told him, I was like, hey, I don't like you. I don't really want you to be in this episode. And, honestly, I don't know if I want you in any future episodes. So I kind of just pushed him away and Quinton was there. He saw me
I
do it.
was. Yeah, it
So
did not go well. Brennan was in
it was pretty
tears.
ugly. Yeah. But it is what it is. That's just how we do things in the business.
It's business. That's just how it works.
Yep. That's how mafia works. So
Yeah.
anyway, yeah. So we got Quinton here today, for a very special episode where just doing it. It's just me and Quinton. Quinton.
hmm
So for those of you who don't know, for the past year, we've been playing the game Dungeons and Dragons
That is correct.
for a while.
hmm
Quinton has been our esteemed dungeon master in these games.
Esteem, thank you.
Yeah. Would you say you're pretty well equipped with the game of Dungeons and Dragons, Quinton?
Yeah. This was my first campaign being the dungeon master, and I think a lot of people in the Dungeons and Dragons business, the Dungeons and Dragons community, would say that it's very difficult to be the dungeon master, especially if it's your first campaign and your first time just doing Dungeons and Dragons at all. But I think I had sort of a rough start, but I think I really got used to it, and I think I can do my job pretty well.
Yeah,
And it's really fun for me.
I'd say so. I'd say you've done a pretty good job considering you didn't have any background playing before we started last year.
Mhm.
Um, I think you've done a really good job. I think you've kind of like I can see your growth from when we first started
Thank you.
till now. And
Mhm.
even back then, I think that considering I had never played Dungeons and Dragons either, I had no frame of reference of what it was like. I thought the games went pretty smoothly. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But today, I thought it would be fun if I sat down with you and did a little interview about your experience being a dungeon master and playing Dungeons and Dragons in general. So without further
Sounds
ado,
good to me.
let's get this thing started again. Um,
Let's have a chit chat.
yeah, let's have a chit chat. Exactly. There you go. Okay, so Quinton.
Mhm.
So remember, you're answering this for the first time, so you can
Yes, for the first
repeat
time.
yourself. What got you
Okay.
interested in Dungeons and Dragons in the first place?
So originally it was sort of an idea because I had some friends come from Canada to visit me and a group of friends. And one of the Canadians actually frequently does D&D and would like to talk about it a lot. And the friend group from Oregon, we were talking about it, and we were like, "Yeah, this sounds fun." But like I said earlier, it was originally an idea. We're just like, if it were to happen, that sounds really cool. We don't even know who would be the dungeon master. We don't know who would even be in it. But it was originally just an idea. I think about a year later, though, we sort of just started committing. We're like, actually, let's do this. We don't really have anything to do. We were really bored of all the video games that we had. A lot of COVID, pandemic, a lot of the movie theaters were closed. We just wanted to find something to do.
Mm-hmm.
So we decided to get together and try some Dungeons and Dragons. I decided to be the dungeon master because I think I was the most willing to do it out of the group. I'm not saying a lot of people were forcing me up to it, but I sort of wanted to do it, and it didn't seem like anyone really wanted to do it. So I sort of just decided to be the dungeon master.
Right.
And that's how it all really started.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, and I remember when you guys originally approached me to be a part of it.
Mhm.
To me it was kind of completely out of the blue because I'm not really like I don't know the friends from Canada as well.
Yeah.
So I wasn't there for the original discussion. But when it just like I had known what D&D was, and when you guys were just like, "Hey, we want to play D&D. Do you want to join?" I was just like, "Screw it, yeah, sure." I think it
Yeah.
was just something that I wanted to try. That I was like, I want to try this out and see how it is. And as a player, I think it's been really fun. Like I said, I think that I've enjoyed the scenarios that you've presented for us as the dungeon master. Um,
Thank
and
you.
I think everyone else has too. I think. Would you say like you've gotten pretty good feedback about it from me and everyone else since we've started?
Yeah, I think the feedback was very helpful.
Mhm.
Um, of course, since we're all starting D&D and we're not really sure what to expect, I think it's very hard for myself and the rest of the party to sort of come up with some criteria, or not some criteria, but some things to work on because we're really not sure um, what an average dungeon master does that I don't.
Mhm.
I think one of the things I could work on would be the role playing aspect, but besides that, I think I do a pretty well job as the dungeon master, and I've heard a lot of feedback from the party saying that I'm doing just fine, which makes me happy.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think considering like this is our really only frame of reference, like I don't really have any complaints. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Um,
I was worried that my I wouldn't have enough creativity to do it, but seems like it's working out so far.
yeah, no, I think I actually I'll notice when we play how you'll present a scenario because I know that obviously there's a lot of pre-written material
Mhm.
in Dungeons and Masters or Dungeons and Masters Dungeons and Dragons.
Mhm.
And so there's a lot of that kind of pre-written conceptualized stuff for you to work off of.
Yeah.
But well I like we'll play a session and then after the session is over, we'll like talk about it and we'll be like, man, I really liked when we fought these really cool like shark monsters, for example, in the last session I remember. And then you'll just say like, yeah, that was completely like I came up with that. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And then I'll be like, wow, that was really cool. Like I really felt like that was something that was pre-written for you that you just presented to us. But that shows like how natural it felt. You know what I mean? And I
Yeah.
think it's
Originally, when we first started, when like I said earlier, it was a little rocky. I was reading straight from a book. It
Mhm.
was called like Dragon of Icespire Peak, which
Right.
was a starter dungeon master book for people who are first starting Dungeons and Dragons. And I was just reading straight from it, completely linear. I didn't add anything. I didn't homebrew anything, and it was really boring. Like,
Mhm.
I think that was the intention of the book, so you could add on to it. But I wasn't very comfortable with adding on to it, so I just read straight from the book, and that's just how it worked. But I think starting from like session 3 or 4, I started adding my own stuff, and I noticed that um, the adventures start becoming more alive and not just linear and boring. And
Definitely.
I found that very fun. So I started just straight up homebrewing a lot of stuff from now on.
Hmm. And
And yeah,
you think I think it's worked out pretty well. Like I don't feel like you've homebrewed anything that like you would come across, or at least as a player, it doesn't seem like anything that you homebrew. We really run into a problem where it doesn't seem to work. You know what I mean? I mean,
yeah,
and that's coming from a player. At least nothing comes to mind.
yeah.
Like you might
I think,
disagree, but
yeah, I think the funniest thing that the party seemed to complain about, this just came to mind. I didn't even homebrew it. It was a part of the book, but the funniest thing was there was this ice dungeon temple area that was sort of the end of um, the first like campaign, and the doors didn't have any handles, so it was sort of like a push system,
yeah.
and everyone
It's,
just freaked out. They're like, "Why is there no handles on this door? This is stupid. It's a dungeon." And I'm like, I'm sorry. I guess I should have homebrewed some
the
better
handles on the
architecture or
door.
something. Yeah,
Yeah.
my bad.
Well, when that's like the one, like complaint that you can think of, I think that that means that it's gone pretty
Yeah,
well. You
and
know
I
what
didn't
I
even
mean?
homebrew that. That was just a part of the book.
Like it literally said like, because I remember this, it literally said like the doors do not have handles, something like
Yeah.
that. Like it clarified that.
When Yeah, for every dungeon, there's like a brief description in the book. That is, there's a brief description of like what, like the how lit the dungeon is, how tall the ceiling is, and stuff like that. And it specifically stated that none of the doors have handles; they were all push.
And that did not fly with
Yeah,
our
no, that did. I was just like, okay, I'll remember that. I don't see how this will be important at all. But apparently, to the party, they're like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, no. That was
Yeah.
that was the bottom line, dude. Like,
Yeah,
could not handle that.
but it was still
Well,
fun.
yeah, no, I still think it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So what would you say is like your favorite like aspect of being a dungeon master?
Uh oh,
If
geez.
you could pick any aspect of it.
Yeah, no. I think just seeing people play your story, just in a very unique way, like seeing people enjoy what you created for them, what scenarios you brought to them, saying, "Oh, this is cool. Oh, I like this part." I think that's the coolest part, is because I'm making this story of what I think would be a very cool scenario for the party, and having the party reciprocate those feelings by saying, "Yeah, this is really cool." I think that's my favorite part.
Yeah, I think, and I feel like we probably could give you more feedback than we do. I mean, I feel like we obviously are like, hey, that was really fun, and we say that, but I feel like I guess we're not as like, you know, we don't really give you like constructive criticism, I guess, as much, but like, yeah, I think that's just mainly because we don't really have like any, you know, criticism to give. You know what I mean? Like mostly it's
Yeah.
been like it's been a positive experience, so I feel like that it just ends up us just like mainly expressing positive reactions to it, you know.
And although constructive criticism is nice, I don't think we should really stress out about it so much right now, because I think right now I'm still improving every session on
Right.
being a dungeon master. So I still think I know where my weaknesses are, and I'm still trying to strengthen them right now. So I think if there were to be constructive criticism, it would be nice, but I don't think we should really be in a rush. I don't think we
Right.
should really force anyone for it. Yeah.
Definitely, yeah. I think it's like as long as we're progressing at a good pace and we're all kind of like improving together, like I think that that's the best way to go about things. Um so what would you say is the hardest aspect of being a dungeon master?
So far, role playing, getting into the characters that I've created, and because I've given a lot of the characters a personality, and trying to act out that personality has been difficult for me. I think most of it is just an embarrassment. I'm trying to overcome that, because I think when I create these personalities, I sort of already know what they're going to say and stuff like that. But having voices, acting out as their character, being asked questions that I didn't even think would happen, or I didn't think they'd be asked. I think it makes it very difficult trying to like improvising a scenario where like there's two paths ahead of you, and it's like left or right, but instead the party decides to climb the walls. I think I can improvise with that pretty well. But like if you're at a merchant and you ask to buy their shop, I think it would take a little bit more thinking time for me to think of what the appropriate reaction for that merchant would be.
Yeah.
Because sometimes a merchant would be like, no, this is my legacy of my family, I'm not selling this. But other times they'd be like, how much? And what happens to the party if they did buy a random merchant's shop or whatever?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Like you can like I feel like you can create like a million scenarios in your head of what you think we would say, but at the end of the day, we could just completely pull something out of left field.
I know.
You know what I mean?
It happens a lot, but I think I'm getting better and better with the whole role playing aspect.
Definitely. Yeah.
I think that's something we could improve just as a group, is the whole role playing thing, because it seems I don't think a lot of us really act as our character.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, if that's not what we want to do, that's fine. But I think it could make the Senate or the campaign a little bit more fun.
No, I agree. I feel like that's something that I've never like fully considered. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
whenever we play D&D, I'm more or less just, going along and just kind of like, being myself, but like, still kind of
Hmm.
like trying to involve myself in the scenarios. But I think like acting more as like your actual character. For me, it's like I guess I just sometimes forget that like I'm playing as a character and not just myself with like these powers and these
Yeah,
weapons and stuff. So I think like adding that aspect into it would make it a lot more immersive and thus I think more fun. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So yeah, no, I think that definitely something to consider for a lot of people because I'd say I'm not the only person who's like kind of had that
yeah.
sort of experience. Um,
I agree.
so how do you prepare for a Dungeons and Dragons session? Like before we play, like what kinds of things do you do to kind of like get it ready for us?
I create very, very general notes. Sometimes with if if then situations, like if the party does this, then do this. If the party decides to do this instead, then do that. But otherwise, I try to create very, very general notes,
Hmm.
because, like I said, if the party decides not to do something, and I created this entire path that just like goes from beginning to start, but if they don't choose that option, then I have nothing else to work with.
And
So
then
I
you
try to
wrote
create
you wrote
very,
all of that stuff for nothing,
yeah,
essentially, right? Yeah.
yeah. I there
Well, not
have
for
been
nothing, but like
moments,
you know,
yeah,
like
there
it's
have
like
been moments. Oh, sorry, continue.
no. I'm sorry. I no. I was just like I feel like even if you do write like a whole scenario and we don't end up like
Uh,
necessarily going down that path, that doesn't necessarily mean it's useless. Like you could still
yeah,
try to incorporate it somehow, but I could see how it would still be like, well, I did all this work to then not be have it be fully realized. So I could see how that would be frustrating. So I think doing
uh-huh.
general notes is a good way to go about things.
Yeah. I tried doing very linear notes at the beginning because, like I said, I just wrote down what the book told me. And the
Hmm.
books are strangely linear, even though they're like the authors are Dungeons and Dragons professionals, but they are very, very linear.
Hmm.
So it's been a hassle trying to sort of make my own homebrew off of what they're giving me, since it wants the party to go in a certain path, but I'm trying to make that path more general and
Right.
more forgiving. Like, just because I can still design a beginning to end path where I just want this party to do all that stuff,
Hmm.
but it doesn't mean that one option will stray them off. Like just because they didn't talk to the merchant doesn't mean that they still won't end up finding the path, or like they hear a scream from the path or something like that.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, preparing general notes is what I mostly do. Creating visuals. I think a lot of dungeon masters don't actually like have visuals for the party.
Hmm.
Besides, like, so I've seen some dungeon masters have like figurines,
Right.
which is cool. I mean, that's their preference, but I sort of do like a slideshow thing with a TV. Um, Sometimes I show a map. I've been showing a map for most of the sessions, but sometimes I don't show a map, showing how the enemies look, which can block some imagination because you're being presented what the enemy looks like. You don't get to imagine what like a bipedal shark monster pirate would look like,
Right.
because I'm sort of showing you this photo. This is what I want you to see,
Hmm.
which can block the imagination, but I still find it very, very helpful, to sort of show the party what they're going against. And sometimes I do want to show you something to how it looks in a specific way.
Hmm. I think there's value to that. Like as much as I think, and it's like sort of like playing a video game. Like you know, even if you are being presented with what the creatures that you're fighting against look like right in front of you, like I still feel it kind of like it grounds the experience a little bit to a point that I don't think takes away from the experience. You know what I mean? Like you're still
Mm-hmm.
feeling immersed in it, and I do think there is value to like imagining that sort of stuff on your own, but I have no problem with the slideshows. I think that you can have a lot of fun with them. actually, and I see that you do definitely.
The gummy bear event, the
Yeah.
gummy bear encounter.
Oh, the gummy bear encounter. Yeah.
That was a April Fool's encounter. It was very fun to do.
Yeah. That one was fun because that was not only it was April Fool's encounter, but that was like the encounter right before like the big boss. I think. I think it was like
Yes.
right before we fought the dragon that we had been leading up to in our campaign. Um,
Yes.
so like that kind of stuff, like that's just fun to see that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Because it's one
Mm.
thing for you to just say like, "Oh, a gummy bear attacks you," but then when
Yeah.
then we turn our heads to the screen and we just see like this monstrous gummy bear, I think that just like it just adds to the experience so much. So
I also think at the beginning of the animation, the original encounter was like something else, but then the gummy bear like launched it off a bridge or something, and
that's
then
right. I remember that.
yeah,
Like it was like a fake out.
yeah,
Yeah.
if I remember correctly. But
And
yeah, I had a lot of fun making that.
yeah, and I think that's like the value of doing slideshows in particular is that you can like oh shit knocked over my leg. You can incorporate like animations like that and stuff.
Yeah,
Um, so I've enjoyed that aspect of it too. Um, yeah. So would you say like notes and slideshows like that's like your main sort of way to get ready?
yeah, I think that's really all there is to it. Just having the notes for the story that you're trying to portray, and just having a slideshow.
And I feel like that alone is like a good amount of work like to prepare. You know what I mean?
And
Like I see the amount of notes that you've taken, and it's like straight up like a class, dude. Like you're taking notes for a
yeah,
class, which is like it's admirable, like that you put that much work.
thank
Because I
you.
feel like if you didn't put as much work, or I feel like if you did put less work and like kind of like more bare bones stuff, we would notice
Mm,
that kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like it's very much appreciated.
cool.
Um, so kind of straying away from like specifically how it is to be a dungeon master in the grand scheme of D&D, what would you say your favorite class is and why?
My favorite class. Oh man, I really when it comes to classes, I don't really like the class as a whole. I like
Mm,
what you can do with the class, because with the
gotcha.
fighter, a fighter is a very broad term for like anyone who really uses a weapon that isn't necessarily a barbarian.
Hmm.
Um, because a barbarian rages, they're angry, but a fighter is basically anything but that. I mean, sure, they still can be angry, which makes me think why wouldn't you just be a barbarian if like your character does get angry? But it's up to the player.
Hmm.
But like I said, fighter is such a broad umbrella term that I don't really even think I could say I like fighter. I like, because as a fighter you could be like a samurai, or you could be a knight, or you can be a lot of other things. But I think my favorite class route that you can really go down is, I think the one I've been enjoying the most is a wizard.
Mm,
Right now, I've even though I'm a dungeon master, I've been making a lot of like character sheets for these
hmm.
characters that I don't know, I just felt like
Just
making
for
them. I was
fun.
like, I want to make this character, yeah, just for fun.
Hmm.
And I think one of my favorite ones is named Daichi Keen Dreamer, who is a wizard who invents like magical artifacts, and he's sort of trying to discover new elements, minerals to make new magical artifacts. And he's a wizard who uses a enchanted lever action rifle to as his magic focus to cast spells.
Hmm.
And yeah, his class is wizard, but I think what I've taken from him and sort of shifted him into, because he's in the school of evocation, uh, is like my favorite part of D&D, is that because just the class is such a broad term that you can do basically anything with them, and also multi-classing.
Yeah.
Um,
I
so I'm
forget
not
that
even
that's an
sure what
aspect
my
of it.
favorite class is.
So you don't really. That's fine.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think my least favorite class is probably, I have a least favorite.
All
It's
right.
probably Rogue.
Rogue. Yeah.
Yeah,
What
I
about the
think Rogue
rogue?
is my least favorite.
What about
Yeah.
the rogue? Do you is not that you're not too fond of?
I think just the whole sneaking around and sneak attack, surprise attacks things, I just find that very boring, just
Hmm.
as a play style in any scenario. So I think I think it'd be very weird to see a rogue who doesn't do sneak attacks or sneaking around, because that's sort of what their class is based
It
around.
wouldn't really feel like a rogue.
Regardless of what route you take as a rogue, it would be very weird to see you not sneak around.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I think the rogue is my least favorite.
Gotcha, okay. And so right now you're enjoying the wizard, so that's good.
I am enjoying the wizard. I was thinking about I also made a ranger who is a celestial beast hunter, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah.
And then I was thinking about making funny enough, a rogue class who is a court jester.
Okay.
Sort of, yeah. So I'm sort of brainstorming that character right now, but I think that'd be kind of cool.
I feel like that's indicative of your feeling of the rogue. Is just
no, I don't like rogues, but I'm like I want to make this character.
Yeah. Well, I think that's cool that you're, even if you don't like the rogue, you're still exploring them, because you might end up getting more of an enjoyment out of it than you might think.
Maybe so. I doubt it, but maybe so.
Maybe we'll see.
I don't really plan on using any of these characters I make, so they're sort of just like characters that I think would be cool.
Yeah. Well, and on that topic, like, because throughout this whole time that we played D&D, you've always been the dungeon master, or at least from what I've seen. Have you done like other campaigns with other people where you've been a player?
I've been offered multiple times, which I'm really sad about, but a lot of scheduling issues with my work has caused me to not do that. And also, actually, that's really it. But I've been offered a lot, which I really wanted to do. But no, this is the only campaign I've really done, and I've only been the dungeon master so far.
Gotcha. Well, do you think you would prefer being a party member if you were a party member, or do you think you find being a dungeon master more enjoyable? And you still would, even after being a party member. I know that you might not have much of a frame of reference, but...
Yeah. Well, I'm just thinking of the whole aspect of, like, would I rather make a story for other people to play or experience someone else's story? I really like the idea of both. I think I would really enjoy seeing someone's creativity and seeing what story they made. But I also really like being able to create my own world with my own rules and my own stuff as well.
For sure.
Yeah, so I really can't pick a choice. Maybe my decision will change, or my opinions will change once I actually get to play a player. Maybe I'll be like, wow, this is actually really lame.
Yeah.
I feel like I have no control over the story whatsoever.
I think it depends on the case. Who's the dungeon master and like what story they're telling too, because I think that definitely has an impact on whether or not you enjoy being a player or not. So, yes, but if you were in like, a really cool story with a really cool elements to it, I think you would enjoy being a player.
I think I would really enjoy it.
Yeah. Hey, someday I think it'll happen.
I hope so.
So, going back to our personal campaign, what do you think as the dungeon master? What was like your favorite quest that we went on, or favorite like thing that we've done over the course of our sessions playing, whether that be to just watch or come up with, or any of those elements?
Oh,
it was the gummy bear, wasn't it?
No, it was not the gummy bear. I think it'd have to be the Thunderboar fight that I homebrewed, where the party was to go to a shrine where they were trying to summon this humongous Thunderboar, which is in the dungeon, or the Dungeons and Dragons compendium. Gorthok the Thunderboar was not a character I made, but the way he was summoned in the environment around him I made, and it was very fun having the players enter the shrine where they were led to by a centaur. Yes, centaur,
I remember that.
Centaur. Yeah. And seeing like these inscriptions on the wall showing a thunder, or showing a giant boar like electrocuting these stick figures and stuff like that, and being able to explore it, to eventually going up to the top of the cliff where there's like these huge stone monuments and stuff like that. And eventually like being able to fight the boar. I also homebrewed because I also homebrewed one of the party member Cody's, who is a dwarf who is worshiping this god called Kuranos,
Mhm.
which is the god of storms or something like that.
Mhm.
And I homebrewed the fact that since there was this whole lightning and thunder themed area, he was given grace by the god and was given some lightning powers.
Mhm.
Um,
That was dope.
and yeah, he was the champ. He was then declared the champion of Kuranos. And then during the Thunderbore fight, there was another champion, not of Kuranos, but it was a different thunder god, where Cody and the other champion had to dish it out while the rest of the party fought a boar.
Mhm.
And as I was imagining the situation, I was sort of imagining as a little kid where you have those little action figures that are sort of bumping against each other. That's
Yeah.
how I was imagining the whole champions fight, dish it out, seeing who was the better thunder champion and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That was probably my favorite quest and scenario so far.
That was fun to be a part of, to see that all go down, because I think I could speak for all of us when I was saying we didn't expect that to go down in that way. You know what I mean? Because at that point,
I think it was a big surprise when Cody got the powers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was but that kind of stuff is I think the thing that brings me keeps me pulled into playing D&D is seeing that kind of stuff happen.
That's one of the main rules as being a dungeon master. It's called the rule of cool, where every once in a while you shower your party in something really cool and to look forward to use, and that's what sort of keeps the party still motivated to continue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, and I can say that it definitely kept us motivated to continue. So
cool.
That was fun. Yeah, no.
I also really enjoy seeing the party members' reactions, seeing this magical artifact or powers being bestowed upon them, and whoa,
yeah,
this is cool.
It's all of a sudden now Cody has these powers to just take off his arm and use that in various scenarios.
He can also fly now. It's also very funny to imagine a dwarf being able to fly and just be up in the air and just completely electrocute
this tiny little thing just flying. That kind of stuff. That's fun. Mm-hmm. So that's cool. So I think we are getting to the end of this interview. Sadly,
man.
I know. It was just getting good. I know.
Thank you.
Now that we're coming to a close, one last question I would like to ask you is, for anyone watching who's interested in playing D&D or becoming a dungeon master or starting a campaign of their own, what advice would you have to give them that maybe you wish that someone told you before you started, or just in general? What would you want to tell them?
Don't be afraid to make your own rules. There's the Dungeon Master's handbook as well as the player's handbook, which sort of give you a huge list of rules. But don't be afraid to sort of shift them, make your own, or completely change them or get rid of rules, because some rules can be a drag to your party, and keeping them around can demotivate the party and can make the sessions a lot more boring.
Right.
And also, don't be afraid to homebrew.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I think there's a lot of value in homebrewing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no. I think that's good advice. I think that inspires me even to.
Cool.
Yeah. Maybe someday I'll be a dungeon master and you'll be a player.
Dungeon Master Antonio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'll happen someday.
Cool.
Maybe. We'll see. So yeah. I think that's going to conclude this interview. Thanks for being a part of it, Quinton.
That was a nice chit chat.
Thank you. I'm glad you thought so. Did you have a good chit chat?
Yeah, that concludes episode 34.
Yeah, 34.
Okay.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah. So, thank you guys for watching. Go start your own D&D campaign. That's the moral of this episode, because each
And then
episode has
invite me to it because I really wanna try.
yeah, exactly, and then invite Quinton
Yeah.
to it. Yeah, although he's a celebrity, so he might not be available, but maybe.
Yeah. My
Maybe.
schedule's pretty tight. I definitely would have to squeeze in some things. So
Yeah, but if you're lucky, he'll join you.
yeah, you better make it worthwhile.
Yeah, you better. So
Yeah.
with that, see you guys in the next episode. Peace. Bye.